Welcome to Corrections Victoria. Today we're going to be discussing vicarious trauma and how to avoid it. I'm Francis, and I'm going to start by explaining what vicarious trauma is. So, vicarious trauma is the emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical effects of being regularly exposed to other people's trauma. Being indirectly exposed to the trauma experienced by another person who you want to help can lead to distress for the professional who may develop similar symptoms to the person who has been directly traumatized, such as symptoms of PTSD. Vicarious trauma can also change the way a professional perceives their own world. As Sabin, Farrell, and Turpin put it, the caseworker becomes aware of how cruel humans are capable of being, or how dangerous the world can be. So, why is vicarious trauma a problem for corrections staff? On an individual level, vicarious trauma negatively impacts the mental health of the professional, who may develop conditions such as depression or anxiety as a result. Vicarious trauma can also lead to physical health problems such as high blood pressure. Vicarious trauma can also disrupt a professional's interpersonal relationships. Vicarious trauma is also damaging to the organization as it causes high staff turnover, high rates of absenteeism, poorer client outcomes, and poor productivity, among other implications. While vicarious trauma cannot be avoided in its entirety, it is important for both the individual and the organization to take steps to reduce its impact. So, what causes vicarious trauma? Vicarious trauma builds up over time. It's not a result of a single instance. As mentioned previously, it's caused by exposure to other people's traumatic experiences on a regular basis. While working in corrections, you will no doubt be exposed to the trauma experienced by your clients. According to Sabin, Farrell, and Turpin, residents of the correction system experience disproportionately more trauma in comparison to non-custodial populations. Thus, it's no surprise that hearing about these instances may become overwhelming at times. Both organizational and individual factors also contribute to the occurrence of vicarious trauma. This also means we can do our best to control these factors to prevent vicarious trauma or to soften the impact it has on you when it does occur. These are some factors which increase the likelihood of experiencing vicarious trauma while working in corrections. Caseload. This refers to having an imbalanced caseload, meaning having a high caseload of more difficult traumatic cases. Job satisfaction and workplace support. Experience. This refers to those who have been on the job for longer and have been exposed to more trauma, but also those who are new to the job and may be at risk due to not having developed skills to prevent vicarious trauma. The final factor is a clinician's own personal history of trauma, particularly where a client's trauma is of a similar nature to their own. While this list is not extensive, these are a few of the most common factors contributing to the experience of vicarious trauma. Understanding what vicarious trauma is the first step to preventing it from becoming overwhelming. Next, Gabe will take you through some of the warning signs of vicarious trauma.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So, as Francis said, I'll be taking you through the potential signs of vicarious trauma. Previously said before, you might know it as compassion fatigue, secondary trauma, secondary traumatic stress, PTSD. They are often confused with vicarious trauma. And vicarious trauma happens through exposure of clients who have already been traumatized by an event in their life, whatever the event may be. It could be, physical abuse by a partner or a family member. It could be the death of a loved one, among many more ways that a person can feel and become traumatized. So, a little bit of research done. Branson 2019 states that the effects of vicarious trauma are immense. It can impede on your health, both physically, spiritually, mentally, and can impede on basically your whole social life. You may feel that after being disclosed to a traumatic event from a client's life repeatedly, you could adopt their view of the world into your own. So, for example, if a client of yours views everyone as as someone to be wary of, then you could potentially yourself develop that same perspective of everyone else. So, we as community caseworkers will always be exposed to vicarious trauma, and we must recognize when our own thoughts are being influenced by someone else's experience of trauma. So, some steps that us as an institution can take to help prevent you being exposed to high levels of vicarious trauma is to make sure that you have reasonable working hours. Giving you these reasonable working hours allows you to manage your week in a ways that allows you to take care of your health, both physically, mentally, or socially, whether that be going to the gym, doing some meditation, visiting family, or visiting friends, or whatever. Another way is to make sure everyone has supervision so that your partner can determine if you need to take a break or slow down for a little bit. Because you will be doing what you need to do. Your partner can notice things that are starting to have a negative effect on yourself. Another way is that we must allow you to have time in order to complete training. There's no point in you working here if we don't provide the necessary training that allows you to look after yourself. We'll always make sure that whatever we demand from you is reasonable and fair. However, there will be times when you may have a high caseload. If that happens, we will provide you with relevant compensation. Another thing is that we'll make sure that you have your daily breaks. Doing this job without any breaks at all is impossible because no one can go through a full day of work without taking a break, whether that be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or half an hour. So, next, my friend Henry will take you through some practical steps an individual can take to help prevent vicarious trauma.
Improving self awareness is crucial for identifying and controlling the early indicators of burnout regarding vicarious trauma and stress relating to it. Adaptive coping strategies and self care practice, which support balance, good lifestyle choices, appropriate boundaries, and meaningful connections to oneself and others, can positively change the emotional consequences associated with vicarious trauma. Taking part in mental and physical stimulating activities may function as an introduction to mindfulness and mindfulness practice, such as meditation, yoga, and body movement, enhancing resilience and emotional control. Regular yearly checkups with your general practitioner are also necessary to maintain well being, since this highlights the significance of developing effective coping styles and self care practices that allow them to withstand the burdens often associated with their work. Additionally, engaging in professional training and embracing exercise, like having a regular exercise routine that gets your heart pumping a little harder than your daily norm, can promote both physical and mental health. When combined, these techniques promote realistic goal setting, sustainable self care, and a healthy balance between personal and professional life. Institutions play a crucial role in mitigating the effects of vicarious trauma among staff by creating supportive organizational environments, providing regular, high quality supervision in which supervisors and managers who recognize and acknowledge that STS exists was considered extremely important, given that this acknowledgement promotes a feeling of inclusion and belonging at work. By enabling employees to exchange experiences, consider difficulties, and pick up coping mechanisms from coworkers dealing with incapable circumstances, peer support networks help to further build this culture. Trauma-informed training is also vital, equipping staff with the knowledge to recognize the signs of stress, understand its impact, and apply evidence based coping strategies has been